Call the meeting to order. I have some Cub Scouts here. You guys want to come up and do the Pledge of Allegiance with us? Come up here in front here. You guys are here for something, right? You come right up here in front.
I know how we feel.
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us. Flags over here, boys. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, guys.
What troop are you with? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Gary.
Here.
Grinberg.
Here.
Pepcorn.
Here.
Strand.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here. I recently attended an event at the Cardinal IG where they were celebrating their company's voluntary protection program, Star Worksite Award, from OSHA and the U.S. Department of Labor. The award recognizes employers who have implemented effective safety and health management systems and maintain injury and illness rates below the National Bureau of Labor Statistics averages for the respective industries. To be considered for the award, employers must undergo a rigorous on-site evaluation by a team of safety and health professionals. And John, this is the second one in the state of North Dakota, and there's 10,000 applicants. So that's how important this particular award is. And for those of you who don't know it, Cardinal does glass, and it makes windows for everybody around the country. So you can imagine there's some risk in that particular area and site. And I walked in the back door, and before I was 10 minutes in, or 10 steps into the building, somebody gave me safety glasses because that's what I'm supposed to wear. So they all believe in it. So it was fun to watch. In fire, Commissioner Gehring had 5 recruits who graduated from Fire Department's Training Academy. They will now undergo additional training for the next 10 months, which will end with certifications as firefighter, hazardous materials operations, and EMT. And I hear it was a good class that graduated, is that right?
One of the graduates' grandfather, who was a Fargo firefighter, was there to pin him on, and that was pretty special. So,
And the chief wouldn't let me speak.
Deputy Mayor, yeah. Keeps it tight. Fargo Public Health has vaccinated about 350 city employees for influenza. Although mass clinics have ended, anybody needing a vaccination can still contact the public health for an injection or appointment. An interesting thing is going to happen is we're going to have a Heart and Soul Community Cafe. Will be held at 11:30 to 1 o'clock on November 15 at Fargo Public Health. The event is held in conjunction with the Homeless and Hungry Awareness Week. All are welcome to attend the community cafe, and all patrons will be served in a respectful, dignified manner, regardless of their ability to pay. So that's a nice event that we're having. And I also heard the food bank's a little low on food, so if anybody want to donate, this is the time to do it. Library. November is Native American Heritage Month, and the library, in partnership with the Native American Commission, Cultural Diversity and Resources, and the Plains Art Museum, will host a week-long festival and educational series featuring speakers, storytellers, artists, film screenings, and craft demonstrations. All ages are encouraged to attend, and all events are free and open to the public. Visit the library's website for a schedule of event. And just so you know, storytellers oftentimes tell a longer story than John Strand does, so be prepared to be patient. The library will honor veterans for a free concert on 2 p.m. November 12th at the main library, featuring the full band Rattle Brass Quintet and the Flatland Dixie Band of the 188th Army Band. The Metro Arts Pass was recently updated for new offerings for residents who experience art and culture in our community. The program started in 2015 and is a partnership of Fargo, Moorhead, and West Fargo Public Libraries and the Arts Partnership. Library card holders were able to check out a pass from the library and attend a museum or concert for free or at a reduced price. Passes can be checked out for 3 weeks to residents with a valid library card. 15 Metro Arts and cultural organizations are participating in the project. Perfect time. Planning. This is great news. So we all talked about Bison Metals, and it's started now. We're coming rush to get that done this June and get everything ready so they get infrastructure for 62 lots, and they have now already issued 20 building permits. So it appears that we did need housing in that range and in that style. Solid waste. Clay County, Makota Recycling, and the cities of Fargo and Moorhead are participate with a Day Without a Bag campaign, which focuses on reducing and recycling plastic bags. People who want to participate can bring their recyclable plastic bags to Cashway stores in Fargo and Moorhead from 2 to 4 p.m. on November 15th. Those participating will receive a reusable shopping bag while supplies last. The campaign encourages people to recycle plastic bags through take-back programs at local grocery and retail stores. So this goes to that question of plastic bags. Do we need them, and are people willing to use recyclable bags? Also, the City of Fargo will partner with Minn Kota Recycling to promote the Cans for Cash City of Fargo Recycling Challenge. Minn Kota Recycling will pay 1 cent per pound match for all aluminum cans collected at the Minn Kota Redemption Center and the City of Fargo recycling drop sites through November. The 1 cent match proceeds will benefit the Got No Milk program at Fargo Public Schools, which provides milk for elementary students their mid-morning snacks. Interesting stuff. Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda?
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the October 23rd, 2017 regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Gary and Strand. Any discussion or changes?
Special,
Gary and Strand.
the special meeting.
The special meetings, you have to do that separately?
Oh, I'm sorry. And special meeting. Yes, October 30th special meeting. Thank you, that, Shelley. Is that a first and
So moved.
second as well? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. There is a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 38.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Gary?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. We'll start the regular agenda. Ken Costin, you're going to talk about a rebate check for 2016-17 to the amount of $284,522. That's going to be presented to us by the PFM Payment Solutions.
Good evening, Commissioners. This year marks the 5th anniversary of our credit card program. And for those of you that aren't aware of how this program works, the city pays their bills for vendors that accept credit cards without a surcharge. And by paying our bills that way in lieu of paying a check, we qualify for an annual rebate. And in the case of this program, we've been on this program for 5 years, and we're happy to announce that we've hit our initial goal that we set 5 years ago, and that was to achieve a $230,000 rebate check. And I would say that our cooperation with our departments and our division and our staff and all the people that have worked on this has been excellent, and that is what is producing this result. So Bill Sullivan is here and Kelly Smaldone are here to present the check to the mayor for this year's amount of $284,522. And I think Bill has some comments that he'd like to make about our program.
I would like to say a few words, which I think is very important for everybody in the room and for the city council and for the mayor. This program we've had for many years at PFM, about 11 years. We have over 680 public entities in the program. We have one institutional hospital chain, but the city of Fargo is the largest governmental body in our program to receive a rebate check this large. So the city of Fargo outdoes Pennsylvania, New York, and all these different people that have the same opportunity that you have. Jonathan Swift once said that a visionary, which I believe Kent is, sees what's invisible to others. He saw this as an opportunity. You all supported that. And although the check today is $284,000, in the 5 years of us in this program, the city has received $967,655 in rebates by just paying your bills in a more efficient manner. Nothing different. You saved money on the checks, didn't have to process it, but you took the initiative with your support and Kent's staff. They worked very closely with Kelly to make this a very successful program. You're number one by far of all of our public entities at PFM. And I thank you all for that support, and thank you all for recognizing Kent and his team.
Thank you very much, Bill. You're probably paying us more money next year, you think?
Well, what I see going on here, I think so. You got a lot of building going on.
Yeah, we sure do. I think we'll go to item 41, if that's okay. Recommendations for appointments and reappointments to the following boards and commissions: the Tax Exempt Review Committee, county appointment, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add a real quick comment? So the mayor and I and Jim Gilmore and Ben we went to the county commission meeting. I think we do a really good job of all being on the same team. In Western North Dakota, they had some issues, and so I think it's important for all of us. They were very receptive, and so thank you, everybody, for going. I do think it's important that they ask questions along with us. It makes for a better product, and they were obviously very receptive, I believe, Mr. Mayor, and so it was a good thing. And I think we have a lot of things to kind of work on because the legislature basically just changed some of this stuff. But I think we're in the process of kind of all working together. So it was very good and well received. And the one thing I will add, one editorial comment: I hope we do that more often as a city. Go. And be outreach to the Cass County Commission. I think it meant a lot to them. I don't think anybody had ever been there before, and there's lots of things where we work together, and so I think that was you could tell it meant a lot to them, and I think we do have a lot of things in common, and so thank you very much.
Commissioner Pipcorn did a very good job of kind of re-pushing it back together as work as a partnership on the tax exempt review issues so they could be on board and kind of hear what's happening. Side note is Vern Bennett was his superintendent when he was in school, and he did report back that Dave did not spend a lot of time in the principal's office.
And there are a lot of, there obviously, we have a lot of things in common and work together on a lot of things. So, but I would say accounting was not my strength, and so they also pointed that out at the meeting, and so.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 42, consider a 5-year extension from the current agreement with Eric R. Johnson Associates Limited to provide general legal and prosecutory services to the city of Fargo. Bruce Grubb to explain.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The current agreement for legal services is scheduled to expire at the end of the year, and the current contractor agreement covers both general legal services and prosecution services. And we recognize that there are two options available to us moving forward, those being either an RFP or a contract extension. So in considering the options, Mike Redlinger and I researched RFP examples from other municipalities and concluded that the first thing that we needed to do was a thorough review of the extent or the scope of legal services currently being provided. We did that by first looking at legal services being provided to each department on a departmental basis, and then looked at the non-departmental legal support that led to the illustration that you have in your packet labeled as Exhibit A. We have roughly 25 department divisions that all receive legal support to one degree or another, covering a wide range of services. Ordinances, contracts, code enforcement, bond financing, HR issues, personnel issues, property acquisitions, just a wide range of legal services. I've noted a lot of those in my cover letter, and you can look at those for yourself. If you look at how the city attorney's office functions today, it really functions not unlike a department of the city. Similar to city administration, it really provides overarching advice, directive, and supports the entire organization citywide. So in an RFP process, the selection criteria that you generally would see in those is largely centered around related experience and years of experience. And we recognize that Eric has been involved in a legal representative capacity for the city of Fargo to one degree or another for the past 31 years. So the city's made a considerable investment over that time, and this was an obvious consideration that we had to think about. In addition to that, we wanted to look at the number of ongoing legal issues that we have on our plate at this time. Cost is always a factor, obviously. We looked at the planned budget that we established for 2018, as well as the budget history over the past 5 years, the current contract agreement that we have for both the city attorney's office and the prosecutor's office. To try and gauge whether that's reasonable or not, we did some informal research of comparative cities by population, which shows that we are getting a very reasonable value. Some of the examples that I'll just mention that we looked at, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, larger population than ours, 174,000 people, a budget of $1.9 million. Topeka, Kansas, also slightly larger than Fargo, 126,000 people, a budget of $1.2 million. And then getting a little closer to home, Rochester, Minnesota, 114,000 people, slightly smaller, budget of $1.5 million. Billings, Montana, somewhat close to home, 110,000 people, a budget of $1.4 million. And then Fargo, over our past 5-year history, we've ranged between $850,000 to $900,000. So based on that, we considered a contract extension as well, of course, taking into account Eric's prior experience with the city, the institutional knowledge that comes with that experience and is admittedly difficult to replace, the wide range of legal services being provided, and the rates being paid, the value that we're receiving. We also spoke with a number of department heads to ask them about the level of service and their satisfaction with the legal services being provided, and they've all indicated that they're very satisfied. This item was taken to the Finance Committee a week ago and discussed as well, and out of that committee came a recommendation to extend Eric's contract. So under a contract extension, a term of 5 years has been suggested, which is the same term as contained in previous legal contracts. However, the contract is able to be terminated by either party with a 90-day advance notice. So the recommendation tonight is to extend the existing contract with Eric R. Johnson and Associates for providing city attorney and prosecution services.
Do I have a motion?
Also move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Commissioner Garrick?
So we have hiring processes. When we went to a new city administrator, we had a hiring process. We put it out there to see who was out in the country even. Bruce was a great candidate, but we want to know what was really out there. For the police chief, we did the same thing. Years ago, the fire chief did the same thing. For engineers with the water plant, and the sewer plant, we have an engineering firm that we've been working with for some time now. Their contract was up last year. We extended it for 1 year so that we could get ready for an RFP process. So we're going to go out there and see what engineering firms are out there, even though they have the institutional knowledge of what we've been doing at the water plant, the sewer plant. We're going to go and see who else is out there. This is not chump change. It's not a small amount of money. And this is nothing against Eric Johnson or his law firm. But I don't think we should be able to extend a contract for $4 or $5+ million without having an open process where other businesses can come and tell us what they can do for us that maybe we aren't seeing currently. Now, I have no idea what that is because we haven't gone through that process. But the likelihood is that Eric and his firm will put in their name in the hat. A handful of other firms will do the same, and we'll see which one's the best. Eric obviously having a leg up in that he's been here for a very long time and that he has provided good services. So it doesn't really cost us anything. Nothing will be lost by this. We'll only either find something better or we will prove that we have the best thing out there. So I see no reason why there shouldn't be an RFP process in this scenario.
Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, so one of the things, I don't know if you have that spreadsheet showing all the different legal issues in all the different departments, but it's a huge amount, and to me, it's a challenge to be on top of all those topics. And I do think if we broke that all out and put it all out on RFP, I think the additional costs would be substantial. I would say it would probably be twice as much. That's what I believe. I think we're very fortunate, and so I will be supporting extending it.
Mr. Strand?
Thank you, Mayor. My sense with Commissioner Gehrig is if we had issues with legal support, I would especially be advocating for an RFP. But what I know from my year and a half on the commission is the depth and breadth of institutional knowledge that's there. I can make a phone call to Eric, and he has 20 years history to share with us. And he doesn't have to go do his homework on the clock all the time anymore. You've done a lot of that. We've already invested in that. But again, if I had any concerns whatsoever, because I typically agree with this notion of RFPs and RFQs whenever we can. However, with legal services and sometimes architects and other professional services, I'm okay with continuing on if it's working, if it doesn't need to be fixed, and if it's a good investment. So I'm going to gamble on leveraging our previous year's investments to get the best service we can going forward and support this motion.
One of the things about an RFP is it invites the different people to invited to come forth and bid on this. In our community, that we have another attorney that represents both West Fargo and Moorhead, more than likely be the only firm in town that could bid on this particular process. The problem is there's some, and just as you would know with your wife in an attorney firm, there's a lot of longevity in firms that you frequently have. And an attorney that's represented you for a long time knows your history, knows what's going on, and that's invaluable. When you used to do the credit card thing, it's called priceless because he has the ability to have institutional experience and history to understand where many of our ordinances come and many of the things that happen within our community. It's a little different than many of the other things we have people RFP for because he's got a commitment with his firm to represent the city of Fargo, and we are his client. We are the client that he truly serves. And with his team, he has served us very well. So I would be more of, we can do yearly evaluations and performance evaluations with Bruce Grubb, and if commissioners have issues, we can bring them up at those times and would continue to renew that process as we go forward. But Eric has done an excellent job, and I don't think we should taint that in any way. Eric, did you want to say anything? Or?
No, it's an honor and a privilege to be the city attorney for Fargo and to represent you and the staff. And yeah, I appreciate an extension of the contract.
Roll call vote, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Grinberg,
Aye.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Gehrig,
No.
Mahoney,
Aye. We'll go to public hearings. The appeal of the Board Adjustment decision on a variance requested at 3931 and 3949 37th Avenue South to allow proposed building to be constructed to a lower elevation would otherwise be required by the Fargo City's floodproofing code, as referenced in Article 2106 of the Fargo Municipal Code, denied by the Board of Adjustment 8/22/17, continued from 9/25/17 and from the 10/19/17. There is a motion to withdraw the appeal. Nobody's going to explain it. Just they want to withdraw, so I need a motion to withdraw the appeal.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Grinberg,
Aye.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Gehrig,
Yes.
Mahoney,
Okay. Item B, Renaissance Zone project for Scoop and Dough Candy Company, LLC, for a commercial lease project located at 206 Roberts Alley North. Derek LaPointe to explain.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Just a little background. So any commercial lease project from the Renaissance Zone standpoint has to be a part of an approved new construction or rehabilitation project. That project in this case is DFI Roberts LLC. That's project 249F, and that was approved by the City of Fargo and your commission in April of 2016. This particular application is from Scoop and Dough Candy Company. The owner, Josh, is here, as well as a representative from Kilbourne, Mike Zimney, if you have any questions. They are looking to occupy a smaller retail space in the alley, approximately 550 square foot commercial space. They are looking to occupy the space by April of 2018. And from the state's perspective, because again, they're just looking at an income tax exemption from the state when they're looking at a lease, they're estimating a $50,000 income tax exemption over the 5-year term. Again, the applicant's here if you have any questions. I'm here to answer any questions. We are recommending approval for this particular application.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this project? Anybody wishing to speak? Do the commissioners want to interview anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question for Derek. So we're going to be doing the renovation of the alley, so do they know the timeline on that, and how will that affect their business?
Yes, they know that the alley is being constructed right now. This is this particular commercial space is in the first phase of that Roberts Alley reconstruction. So, by April, I mean, the project should be finished here by the end of November, middle of November for the alley. So they will have an open storefront. Obviously, there'll be some impacts with the remainder of the alley, but they are aware of the project.
Thank you.
Commissioner
A couple of questions. How old is the company?
That might be a question for Josh, who's here, if you'd like to ask him.
Yeah, I'd like to know that, and then the market for the, what, are they regional, are they local, or is it national?
Sure. I'll have Josh come up and maybe kind of describe his company.
Thank you. We're like a couple months here old, so no, we just we're a new company. I'm from Fargo, or have been in Fargo for several years now, and we're going to be supplying edible cookie dough, ice cream, so hard serve ice cream flavors, caramel corn, popcorn, and things of that nature. So, but yeah, we're just starting here. So,
Josh, just for the record, what's your last name?
Ulrich.
Thank you.
So your market would be local then?
Yeah, local.
Just curious.
Will you have anything low calorie there?
Yes, we'll have many low calorie, vegan, gluten free options.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Strand.
I'll second it.
Pipcorn, second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Gehrig,
No.
Grinberg,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 43 then, I guess we're at, right? Consider resolution to authorize filing an application with North Dakota Department of Health for a loan of the Clean Water Act for Fargo Wastewater Treatment Plant Improvements Project WW1701. Jim Hauser to explain.
Jim was going to let me set him up. He's the relief pitcher, but thank you. This item was actually presented at our utility committee meeting last week, and it's a resolution that's a requirement to submit a clean water state revolving loan fund application to the North Dakota Department of Health. The specific project is a big one. It's an expansion of our wastewater treatment plant that's been included in our wastewater utility 20-year CIP ever since that plan was put together back in 2005. Now with recent regionalization efforts, the time has come to proceed with that expansion, not just for regionalization purposes, but for Fargo's future as well. And we put this on the regular agenda tonight because it is a big capital improvement project, $140 million, not unlike the expansion of our water treatment plant that's ongoing as we speak. So Jim put together a really nice presentation for our utility committee last week, and I asked him if he would give that to you tonight because I think you find it very informative, and there are big utility capital improvements being planned, and this is one we're kind of proud of. Jim?
Thanks, Bruce. Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. I just got a couple slides here for you, essentially just to kind of frame some of the financial parameters of what we're looking at as far as an expansion at the wastewater plant. And not only the financial parameters, but as well as some of our flow parameters, some of the capacity issues that we currently have and where we might need to be and where we want to go. So like Bruce said, this is the Clean Water SRF loan program. And in 2017, there was a project priority list, and it had a placeholder for the city of Fargo for a wastewater facility expansion. That was a $119 million placeholder. They also had an $11.4 million placeholder for what we called Fargo Regional Solutions. What we needed to do is generally provide the North Dakota Department of Health for a refined estimate from a preliminary engineering report. We're in the middle of that preliminary engineering report, and it'll be completed early 2018. So to ensure that there are no shortfalls, we recommend, and it's been approved by the Department of Health, that we apply for a $140 million loan. So maybe the question is, why now? Why 140 million? Well, first of all, I want you to know that it's not obligated, we're not obligated to use the entire amount. A 2017 application would ensure us that we could obtain a historic low 2% over 30 years. Generally, these loans are 2.5%. It will take 3 to 4 years to complete an expansion. West Fargo will be ready to send their full flow to us in the year 2021. The first principal and interest payment will be in 2022, and the yearly payment will be $5.8 million, and that's based on a $130 million loan. Our debt service has been programmed to be paid with sales tax and rate funds, and like Bruce said, the wastewater CIP has had a placeholder for these improvements as well. Our revenue adequacy model has also accounted for an expansion, and it includes new revenue and it includes new debt. And again, the importance of securing that 2017 Clean Water SRF loan, if you look at like previous interest rates of 2.5% versus where we're at currently with the SRF program, they're currently at 2%. And if you stretch that out over a 30-year period, you can see with a $140 million loan, we can actually save $13 million in interest. So we think it's really advantageous for us to jump on it as quickly as possible. Why 140 million? Well, it is a fact that treating a gallon of wastewater is more expensive than treating a gallon of drinking water. Most people don't realize that, but it is a fact. One of the cost barometers that we look at, EPA has a rule of thumb, generally $10 per gallon of treatment. So what we're looking at doing is adding or doubling our capacity at the wastewater plant, essentially 14 additional million gallons per day. So our planning amount is that 140 million, which I talked about. I'm sure most of you know this, but we are a regional provider of wastewater services. Obviously, you know, West Fargo and Horace just signed on in 2017, but there's a lot of other small cities and sub-districts that we've been providing wastewater service for many years. For example, you get down to like the Briarwoods, Prairie Rose, Frontier, North River, that was in 1990. Southeast Cass Sewer District was in 1989. North Highland all the way back in the late 70s. And what might be of interest to you too is we've also had some conversations with Mapleton and Kindred to see what solutions we could provide for them as far as sewer service. Some of the benefits of regionalization, obviously it minimizes the number of discharges into the state's waters. Fewer discharge points results in fewer environmental impacts. Cost savings through economies of scale. Lower operating and administrative costs. And from your guys' standpoint, more affordable rates for users. So where we are today, currently we treat 12 million gallons a day at the wastewater plant at 3400 North Broadway. Our current design capacity is 15 million gallons per day. So you could say even without the regionalization in West Fargo, we needed to expand eventually. It's just kind of speeding it up a little bit. Our short-term flow from West Fargo and Horace is less than 3 million gallons a day. So we feel pretty good about the next few years that we'll be in good shape. But in 2021, the West Fargo agreement had an allocation in there of 6.5 million gallons. The Horace agreement had an allocation of 1.15 million gallons. It's highly unlikely that we're going to reach those allocations by 2021, but it might be interesting to note that if we saw half of those allocations, 50% of what I just mentioned, from just West Fargo and Horace alone, that would generate $4.2 million of new revenue, and it would essentially pay for 72% of the debt service that we acquire. But one thing to remember as well, too, with expanding the wastewater plant, there will be an increase in O&M costs. So our expansion goal, we'd like to be complete by mid to late 2021. Our goal again is to have a 29 MGD wastewater treatment plant, 29 million gallons per day, and that equates to a regional population of almost 271,000 people. We'd like to be able to treat peak flows of 50 MGD during flood and rain events. Currently, our capacity is only 26 MGD. So in heavy rain events or flood conditions, we've previously had to discharge wastewater directly into the river, but we had to do that only just to protect basements and the wastewater plant and other infrastructure. This would also accommodate regional growth through the design year of 2040. And there's also many other ancillary benefits of an expansion. Improved odor control at the site. We'd eliminate the use of chlorine so that it'd be safer for the staff, safer for the neighborhood. We would potentially manage our flood and rain events better. It would promote growth, new industry, that type of deal. Then, of course, just cleaner water, better treated water for the Red River and for our future regulations. And as you look at our footprint of the wastewater treatment plant, the items you see in blue are going to be new. We're doubling the capacity of the wastewater treatment plant, but as you can see, we're not doubling the footprint by any means. We still have a lot of footprint, so that if we need to even have another phase in the future, we would still have the footprint and that capability to be able to do it at this site. So it's all based on new technology, and 20 years from now, who knows what that footprint will look like with even newer technology. So with that, yeah, I'm just looking for approval of the resolution authorizing us to submit a clean water SRF loan, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you guys had some.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second, can you go back to the picture? Just a comment.
Yes.
The white ones, they've been there since what, the early 80s?
No, many of them from 1934. This is like the old headworks, as a matter of fact, and
Don't go there.
we just removed some pumps from an old lift station, an old headwork station, and those pumps were the original 1934 pumps that we used just right up until a couple of months ago. So,
Well, as a college student, I poured concrete up there in the early 80s and those ring walls with all those plastic little things in the middle under those areas. So that was probably the last time there was any significant expansion. Would have been,
there's been a series of expansions, obviously, from 1934. There's been different phases. Like in the 1990s, we had a new solids handling facility, so that would be one of the newer facilities out there. But there's always been the improvement projects to improve the 1950 stuff. The
well, it brought back memories when I saw that picture.
Okay.
You learn a lot on a job site like that.
Yeah.
Commissioner Pipcorn?
So Jim, I got a couple questions for you. First of all, so you mentioned some of the towns in the future. So what are some of those, and so what's the limiting factor? What's the maximum? How far away can we go?
Well, when you talk about far away, when we talk about flow, I think we're going to build the plant to accommodate regional growth, and we're going to include some of those small towns. Getting from point A to point B would be part of the responsibility of those small towns, so it might be just a series of lift stations and force mains to get it to like 45th Street, for example, or to get it to 42nd Street to where it goes by gravity to our wastewater plant. So there's, some logistics there. We would just have to find where the nearest connection point would be, for example.
So you talked about Kindred, so can you give us an example of what that would look like? Let's say that they signed up, how would that go?
I would say there might be two options there. There might be a flow-through option to go through Horace. That might be one option, but then, of course, we'd have to negotiate with Horace and inform them. The other one would be maybe crossing interstate and getting it to Oxbow. We have a force main and a couple of lift stations down in the Oxbow area, and then pump it up to our system from there.
So really, there's lots of potential there. A lot just depends on how, I mean, there's just, but, so let's say if you look down the road, so eventually we would become a regional treatment facility. Is that what you would describe it as?
I would say we are there right now. We're just getting larger.
No, but I mean, but the region would be bigger.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then the other one was, so the recycled water, can you show where that is, and is that going to be expanded at the same time?
It's kind of on the it's on the northwest corner up there. I don't think I have a pointer up here, do I? Okay. Right there. That's our effluent reuse facility where we take secondary or treated wastewater and treat it to a really high quality water, a reverse osmosis quality water, and we pump it 26 miles across the prairie for Therald's and ethanol, and we sell that to them. And we also take their wastewater back and we charge them
How much a day?
about 1.2 million gallons a day.
And you expanded that to what?
We are not expanding it. We're adding some additional equipment to make it so that we have more redundancy, plus to increase the capacity a little bit. We were a little bit vulnerable if we had some equipment fail, that we wouldn't be able to provide them the water that they needed. With this new equipment, we'd have more redundancy to accomplish that. So.
I'm sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, that's good. So what it is right now, the building, the recycled water, that building is not part of this project, but that is there, and the potential for growth is there too, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner, if I might add, when that, we call it an effluent reuse facility, was designed, a mirror image of that can go in immediately adjacent to it. So that is the future plan.
Yeah, that's good. I'm good.
Any other comments or discussion? Commissioner Garrick?
Yeah, so the recycled water, we're talking with them now. We haven't changed the prices for them in how long for that?
Well, since the inception, we started in 2007, and we're just now talking about changing the prices on.
So it's been a decade or so. So we should, see a little bit more money coming from that program now. And like you said, you could double it if it was required. We'd ask them to put a bigger pipe in the ground in order to do that. So
correct.
But yeah, that's a fantastic deal there. I want to know where I can get a 2% loan for my home or something like that. It's the lowest rate I think you're ever going to see, at least in my lifetime. I can't imagine it getting any lower. And the fact that we don't have to take all of it or whatever else is fantastic. So for me, this is just obviously a no-brainer. The one thing utilities do so well, all the utilities, is planning ahead. You've had this, labeled in your CIP for a long time. And, that's impressive to just be able to look down and see something that other people don't see. So that is great. So I appreciate the work you guys do. You're making money for the city of Fargo. This regionalization thing has really no ceiling. We can keep going with this. And being able to double the capacity of this plant and not doubling the footprint is also very impressive. So that obviously takes planning, and it doesn't just happen, is what I'm saying. So I appreciate the work you guys do.
Any other comments? Good job. Roll call, please.
Gary.
Yes.
Greenberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Only other item, the Red River Valley Water Supply is having a meeting here tomorrow. Garrison Diversion is supporting the Holiday Inn. So if any of you have questions on that or how that project is coming, Commissioner Pepcorn went out to Washington, and you had some good news for the town as far as how that meeting went?
Well, I wanted to thank the mayor. That was the first time I got to go unchaperoned any place in Washington without a handler. I managed to not get in any trouble. But the best part was they're very receptive. The McCluskey Canal, if we can use that, that saves us millions of dollars up front, and then even more importantly, is operating costs are much lower. And so anyway, that's been going on for 70 years. So to say that I'm optimistic, I think that's a stretch. But I think the Secretary Zinke of the Interior was very supportive. He's a former offensive lineman from the Oregon Ducks. So we got to, it was very fun. He was a great guy. And so he was very supportive, and that could help us a lot. So I'm very optimistic. If you get a chance to go to the conference tomorrow, but to summarize it, this is a huge deal for Fargo for drought resistance. If we can get water from the Missouri to combine it with the Red River basin, we have much more resistance to the drought. And some of us are old enough that in 1988 the river was pretty low, and that's not a good thing. So anyway, it's a good opportunity. I would say it's going to happen, and so it was very fun, and I managed not to cause any damage when I went out there. So thank you, Mayor, for letting me go, and it was very fun.
Good job. Commissioner Grinberg, do you remember when the river was dry? How many dates?
88, come on, man.
We have a steak dinner bet on.
Oh, yeah, we do.
He still thinks he's going to win.
Yeah, we do.
Motion to adjourn. Commissioner Strand.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Welcome back.
Thank you. When Commissioner Pepcorn alludes to getting older, or some of us being old enough, some of us are also getting older soon, so happy birthday to you on November 16th.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We're adjourned.